Golden State Warriors. The Golden State Warriors are an American professional basketball team based in Oakland, California. The Warriors compete in the National Basketball Association as a member of the league's Western Conference Pacific Division. The team was established in 1946 as the Philadelphia Warriors based in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, a founding member of the Basketball Association of America. In 1962, the franchise relocated to the San Francisco Bay Area and was renamed the San Francisco Warriors. In 1971, the team changed its geographic moniker to Golden State, California's state nickname. Since 1971, the team's home court has been the Oracle Arena in Oakland. The team is nicknamed the Dubs, as a shortening of W's. The Warriors have reached 9 NBA Finals, winning 4 NBA championships in 1947, 1956, 1975 and most recently in 2015 when they defeated the Cleveland Cavaliers. Golden State's 4 NBA championships are the 5th most in history, behind only the Boston Celtics, Los Angeles Lakers, Chicago Bulls and San Antonio Spurs. Wilt Chamberlain and Stephen Curry have both been named the NBA's most valuable player while playing for the Warriors, for a total of 3 MVP awards. Golden State holds the NBA record for best regular season with 73-9, and most combined wins in a season with 88 wins. As of 2017, the Warriors are the 3rd most valuable NBA franchise according to Forbes, with an estimated value of $2.6 billion. Team creation. The Warriors were founded in 1946 as the Philadelphia Warriors, a charter member of the Basketball Association of America. They were owned by Peter A. Tyrrell, who also owned the Philadelphia Rockets of the American Hockey League. Tyrrell hired Eddie Gottlieb, a longtime basketball promoter in the Philadelphia area, as coach and general manager. The owners named the team after the Philadelphia Warriors, an old basketball team who played in the American Basketball League in 1925. 1946 to 1962, Philadelphia Warriors was the league's first scoring champion, led by early scoring sensation Joe Fulks. The team won the championship in the league's inaugural 1946-47 season by defeating the Chicago Stags 4-1. The NBA, which was created by a 1949 merger, officially recognizes that as its own first championship. Gottlieb bought the team in 1951. The Warriors won its other championship in Philadelphia in the 1955-56 season, defeating the Fort Wayne Pistons 4-1. The Warrior stars of this era were future Hall of Famers Paul Arizon, Tom Gola and Neil Johnston. In 1959, the team signed draft pick Wilt Chamberlain, known as Wilt the Stilt. He led the team in scoring 6 times, quickly began shattering NBA scoring records, and changed the NBA style of play forever. On March 2, 1962, in a Warrior home game played on a neutral court in Hershey, Pennsylvania, Chamberlain scored 100 points against the New York Knicks, a single-game record the NBA ranks among its finest moments. 1962 to 1971, San Francisco Warriors. In 1962, Franklin Miley purchased the majority shares of the team and relocated the franchise to the San Francisco Bay Area, renaming them the San Francisco Warriors. The Warriors played most of their home games at the Cal Palace in Daly City from 1962 to 1964, and the San Francisco Civic Auditorium from 1964 to 1966, though occasionally playing home games in nearby cities such as Oakland and San Jose. averaged over 20 points per game during 5 different seasons, and over 20 rebounds per game during 2 seasons while with the Warriors. Prior to the 1963-64 NBA season, the Warriors drafted big man Nate Thurmond to go along with Chamberlain. The Warriors won the Western Division crown that season, but lost the 1964 NBA Finals to the Boston Celtics, 4-1. In the 1964-65 season, the Warriors traded Chamberlain to the Philadelphia 76ers for Connie Deerking, Lee Schaffer, Paul Newman and $150,000 and won only 17 games. In 1965, they drafted Rick Barry in the first round, who went on to become NBA Rookie of the Year that season, and then led the Warriors to the NBA Finals in the 1966-67 season, losing to Chamberlain's new team that had replaced the Warriors in Philadelphia, the 76ers. Angered by management's failure to pay him certain incentive bonuses he felt were due him, Barry sat out the 1967-68 season and signed with the Oakland Oaks of the rival American Basketball Association for the following year. But after 4 seasons in the ABA, rejoined the Warriors in 1972. During Barry's absence, the Warriors were no longer title contenders, and the mantle of leadership fell to Thurmond, Jeff Mullins and Rudy LaRusso. They began scheduling more home games in Oakland with the opening of the Oakland Coliseum Arena in 1966, and the 1970-71 season would be the team's last as the San Francisco Warriors. 1971-1978. Rick Barry was named the NBA Finals MVP in 1975. The Warriors made the playoffs from 1971 to 1977, except in 1974, and won their first NBA championship on the West Coast in 1974-75, in what many consider the biggest upset in NBA history. Golden State not only defeated the heavily favored Washington Bullets, but humiliated them in a 4-game sweep. That team was coached by former Warrior Al Attles, and led on the court by Rick Barry and Jamal Wilkes. Barry was named MVP of the finals. At 59-23, the Warriors had the league's best record during the 1975-76 season. They were upset, however, by the 42-40 Phoenix Suns in 7 games in the Western Conference Finals. 1978-1987. Because of the loss of key players such as Barry, Wilkes and Thurmond to trades and retirements, the Warriors struggled to put a competitive team on the court from 1978 to 1987 after being one of the NBA's dominant teams in the 1960s and most of the 1970s. Through the NBA draft, however, they acquired some players such as high-scoring forward Purvis Short, former Purdue center Joe Barry Carroll and center Robert Parrish, who was traded to the Boston Celtics in 1980 along with the draft pick that would become Kevin McHale for the pick used to draft Carroll. In 1983, the Warriors matched the New York Knicks offer for free agent Bernard King, but, unable to pay his high salary, quickly traded him to the Knicks for guard Michael Ray Richardson, whom they soon shipped to New Jersey in exchange for former Georgetown Hoya point guard Eric "Sleepy" Floyd, and journeyman forward Mickey Johnson. The departure of these players for various reasons symbolized the franchise's futility during this period, as head coach Attles moved up to the front office as general manager in 1980, and the team made several coaching changes. New owners Jim Fitzgerald and Dan Finan finally managed to return the team to respectability by hiring former Cleveland Cavaliers head coach George Karl as head coach in 1986 after selecting St. John's small forward Chris Mullin in the 1985 NBA draft. 1987 to 1997. Game between the Warriors and the Jazz. After a subpar stretch in the late 1970s and early 1980s, the team had a brief resurgence under coach Carl, culminating in a 1987 Western Conference semifinal match against Magic Johnson and the Los Angeles Lakers, which is still shown on TV in the NBA's Greatest Games series. In the game, Warriors All-Star point guard Sleepy Floyd's performance in the second half still stands as the NBA playoff record for points scored in a quarter and in a half. His 6 consecutive field goals in the fourth quarter led to a 51-point finish for him and a victory for the Warriors. The Sleepy Floyd game was a catalyst for increased interest in the NBA in the Bay Area, which was furthered by new coach Don Nelson, who engineered another successful string of wins in the late 1980s and early 1990s with the high-scoring trio of point guard Tim Hardaway, guard Mitch Richmond and forward Chris Mullin. But Run TMC stayed together for only 2 seasons, when Coach Nelson, in a move to get a promising young front-court player to complement his run-and-gun system, sent Richmond to the Sacramento Kings for rookie power forward Billy Owens. Nelson had been brought to the Warriors from the Milwaukee Bucks by Jim Fitzgerald, who along with Dan Fernine owned the team between 1986 and 1995. In 1993-94, with first-round draft pick and Rookie of the Year power forward Chris Webber playing alongside off-guard Latrell Sprewell, the Warriors made the playoffs. At the start of the next season, however, a rift formed between Webber and Sprewell on the one hand and Nelson on the other. All three soon left the team, and the organization went into a tailspin. 1994-95 was the first season under new team owner Chris Cohan, who had bought out Fitzgerald and Fernane. The Warriors selected power forward prospect Joe Smith as their first overall draft pick in 1995, and hired Rick Adelman as the new head coach. They sent Tim Howard away and Chris Gatling to the Miami Heat for Kevin Willis and Bimbo Coles midway through the 1995-96 season, and ended up with a 36-46 record, 3 wins short of making the playoffs. While their home court, the Oakland Coliseum Arena, was being extensively renovated, the 1996-97 Warriors played their home games in the San Jose Arena and struggled to a 30-52 finish. Longtime Seton Hall College coach P.J. Calzimo, who had been recently fired by the Portland Trail Blazers, replaced Adelman as head coach for 1997-98. Sprewell was suspended for the remainder of the 1997-98 season for losing his temper and choking Calzimo during a team practice in December, generating the glaring newspaper headline, "Warriors hit rock bottom," and the declaration by GM Gary Street Gene that Sprewell would never play for the Warriors again. He would not play in the NBA again until he was dealt in January 1999 to the New York Knicks for John Starks, Chris Mills and Terry Cummings. 1997 to 2008. St. Jean had became the new Warriors GM in July 1997. He and his predecessor Dave Twardzik received much of the blame for the Warriors' struggles early in Cohan's turbulent tenure as owner. In addition to Cohan himself, St. Jean brought in players such as Terry Cummings, John Starks, and Mookie Blaylock, who were well past their primes. Twardzik drafted several flops, such as Todd Fuller and Steve Logan. In the following draft, the team selected Alden Orfoyle while Tracy McGrady was still available. St. Jean did, however, draft future 2-time NBA Slam Dunk champion off-guard Jason Richardson, a Warriors star scorer through the 2006-07 season. For a few years, with rising stars Richardson, small forward Antawn Jamison, and point guard Gilbert Arenas leading the team. The Warriors seemed like a team on the rise, but the young Warriors did not have enough in the competitive Western Conference to make the playoffs. After the 2002-03 season, St. Jean's earlier mistakes of committing money to players like Danny Fortson, Adonal Foyle, and Eric Dampier were painfully felt by Warriors fans. When the team was unable to re-sign Arenas despite his desire to stay in the Bay Area, a new rule was implemented in response to second-round draft picks who quickly become superstars. Chris Mullin succeeded St. Jean with the title of Executive Vice President of Basketball Operations in 2004. He hoped to build a winning team around Jason Richardson, Mike Dunleavy Jr. and Troy Murphy, and drafted 7-foot center Andrus Biedrans from Latvia. At the 2005 trading deadline, he bolstered to the team with the acquisition of point guard Baron Davis, bringing to the team its first superstar since Mullin himself. The Warriors enjoyed a great start to the 2005-06 season, entering the new year with a plus .500 winning percentage for the first time since 1994, but managed to win only 13 more games through the end of March due to injuries. Davis often found himself at odds with new head coach Mike Montgomery, and failed to remain healthy, playing in just 54 games. On April 5, 2006, the Warriors were officially eliminated from playoff contention in a 114-109 overtime loss to the Hornets, extending their playoff drought to 12 seasons. 2006-07 We Believe season. Entering the 2006-07 season, the Warriors held the active record for the most consecutive seasons without a playoff appearance. During the 2006 offseason, Golden State announced that it had bought out the remaining 2 years of Coach Montgomery's contract, and hired previous Golden State and former Dallas Mavericks coach Don Nelson to take over for him. During training camp, small forward Matt Barnes established himself in the rotation. On January 17, 2007, the Warriors traded the disappointing Murphy and Dunleavy with promising young power forward Ike Dioc and Keith McLeod to the Indiana Pacers for forward Al Harrington, forward guard Stephen Jackson, guard Sarunas Jasikevicius and forward Josh Powell. This trade allowed the Warriors to run and gun their way to the playoffs with a more athletic and talented team. On March 4, 2007, the Warriors suffered a 106-107 loss in Washington, the Wizards handing them their 6th straight loss, when former Warrior Arenas hit a technical free throw with less than 1 second remaining after Nelson had protested a controversial call with the Warriors ahead by a slim margin. The loss dropped them to 26-35. March 4 marks the turning point for the Warriors. The Warriors closed out the regular season at 16-5 in the last 21 games. "We Believe" became the Warriors' slogan for the last 2 months of the season and the playoffs. Led by a healthy Baron Davis, an ever-improving Jason Richardson, and young future star off-guard Monta Ellis as well as center Biedrans, the Warriors immediately dashed the highly favored top-seed Dallas Mavericks' expectations of a short and easy series win with a Game 1 victory in Dallas thanks to Davis's frantic style of play. The Mavericks came back to win Game 2 easily to tie the series at a game apiece. But the Warriors won both Games 3 and 4 with a huge lift from the home crowd at Oracle Arena. A close Game 5 saw the Mavericks eke out a 118-112 victory with a last-minute surge led by superstar forward Dirk Nowitzki to send the series back to California at 3-2. In Game 6, The Warriors engineered a third-quarter 18-0 run to eliminate the Mavericks and become the NBA's first number 8 seed to beat a number 1 seed in a 7-game series. It was an upset in name only, given the fact that the Warriors had swept the Mavericks in the regular season series. The Warriors went on to play the Utah Jazz in the second round of the 2006-07 playoffs, where they dropped 2 close games at Energy Solutions Arena to open the series. The series then shifted to the Oracle Arena, where the Warriors won Game 3 in a convincing blowout. Davis scored 32 points and electrified the crowd with a monster dunk on Jazz forward Andrei Kirilenko late in the fourth quarter, but they lost Game 4 at home, their first loss in Oakland in well over a month, and the Jazz closed them out in Game 5 in Salt Lake City. 2007-08 season. The Warriors faced early difficulties in their attempt to return to the playoffs. Richardson was traded to the Charlotte Bobcats for rookie Brandon Wright. To make things even worse, Jackson was suspended for 7 games over a firearm incident. They opened the 2007-08 season with 6 straight losses, but Liz Rise, Davis's solid injury-free season, and an overall improvement in team chemistry brought them back to playoff contention. But in the end, the Warriors failed to make the playoffs despite a 48-34 season, which is the best record in NBA history for a non-playoff team since the NBA playoffs had expanded to 8 teams per conference. The Western Conference was very strong that season. Every playoff team won 50 games, leaving the Warriors 2 games out of the last playoff spot. The Warriors sold out nearly every home game during the season, averaging 19,631 per game, the highest in team history. 2008-2011. In the off-season, Baron Davis opted to return to his hometown and sign with the Los Angeles Clippers. With the 14th pick of the 2008 NBA Draft, the Warriors selected and signed Anthony Randolph out of LSU. To compensate for the loss of Davis, the Warriors signed free agents Corey Maggott and Ronnie Turiaf and re-signed Ellis and Andrus Biedrins to long-term contracts. The Warriors had a disappointing 2008-2009 season, finishing 29-53. Ellis was injured in a moped accident and suspended for 30 games for riding the vehicle against the terms of his contract, depriving the Warriors of their top player. They traded disenchanted forward Al Harrington to the New York Knicks for guard Jamal Crawford, and were undone by injuries and the minimal experience of their young players such as Anthony Morrow and Brandon Wright. Coach Nelson often had to make adjustments to the starting lineups since many of the original starters missed games due to injuries. Despite the team's losing record, the Warriors were hard to beat when they had a healthy lineup and a strong bench. With leadership and improvement in the young players, they were sometimes able to defeat powerhouse teams such as the Boston Celtics, 1989. During the 2009 off-season, Warrior ownership declined to renew the contract of general manager Mullen. Larry Riley, Nelson's longtime assistant coach, was promoted in his place and drafted Stephen Curry as an outstanding 7th lottery pick, but dubiously traded Jamal Crawford to the Atlanta Hawks for A.C. Law and Speedy Claxton. The Warriors had another injury-prone year in 2009-10, as they were consistently unable to field their ideal starting lineup. In November, a malcontented Steven Jackson and seldom-used A.C. Law were traded to the Charlotte Bobcats for Raja Bell and Vladimir Radmanovich. 4 days later, they signed center Chris Hunter. Starting in January 2010, they issued multiple 10-day contracts, most notably to power forward Anthony Tolliver from the Idaho Stampede. Due to their multiple injuries, they were granted an exception allowing them to sign Reggie Williams from the Sioux Falls Skyforce to a 10-year contract on March 2, making it their fifth D-League call-up that season, tying an NBA record. They eventually waived the injured Bell to sign Williams for the rest of the year, and finished the season 26-56, fourth in the Pacific Division. On June 24, the Warriors selected Ekpe Udoh, a power forward from Baylor, as the sixth pick of the 2010 NBA draft. They also introduced a modernized version of their The City logo depicting the new eastern span of the San Francisco-Oakland Bay Bridge, and switched to a simplified color scheme of royal blue and gold. They also introduced new uniforms reminiscent of the 1969-71 The City uniforms. The Warriors made an off-season trade that sent Torrey F. Randolph and Kellen Oazubuike to the New York Knicks in return for star high-scoring power forward David Lee via a sign-and-trade. Lee agreed to a 6-year, $80 million deal, on a framework contingent on the decision of superstar forward LeBron James to leave the Cleveland Cavaliers to sign with the Miami Heat. That same day, following Morrow's departure after he signed the New Jersey Nets offer sheet, the Warriors signed Dorell Wright, formerly with the Miami Heat, to a 3-year, $11 million deal. On July 15, owner Chris Cohan sold the Warriors to Peter Guber of Mandalay Entertainment and his partner Joe LaCob for a then-record $450 million. On November 15, the Warriors announced the new 19-person ownership group composed of Joe LaCob, Peter Guber, Vivek Ranadive, Erica Glazer, Fred Harmon, Bob Piccinini, Larry Bowman, Danny Jermin, Marty Glick, Chad Hurley, Craig R. Johnson, Bruce Karsh, Jeffrey A. Miller, Paul Schaefer, David Sealy, Nick Swinmurn, Harry Sau, John Wallaker and Dennis Wong. The Warriors gathered together during the team's starting lineup ceremony prior to their 2011-12 exhibition opener against the Sacramento Kings. The Warriors continued their signing spree by adding Harvard guard Jeremy Lin to their roster with a 1-year partially guaranteed contract containing a second-year team option, the first Taiwanese-American player in NBA history. Louis Amundsen was then added for little under $5 million in mid-September. Keith Smart was hired as head coach that same month after Nelson had resigned before the start of training camp. In February 2011, the Warriors traded Brandon Wright and Angad Zurich for Troy Murphy and a 2011 second-round pick. On February 27, Murphy and the Warriors reached a buyout agreement and he was waived. During a steady season without making any real ground in the playoff race, the Warriors broke franchise records with 21 made threes in a win against the Orlando Magic. In April 2011, Dorell Wright made a franchise record of 184 threes in a season in a home win versus Los Angeles Lakers, surpassing Richardson's 183 in 2005-06. He then broke another NBA record as the first player to have scored more points in his seventh season than in all his first 6 seasons combined in a win against the Portland Trail Blazers. He ended the season with the most three-pointers made in the NBA that season with 194, as well as the most threes attempted with 516, both of which set new Warrior franchise records. The Warriors failed to make the playoffs after a 36-win season in 2010-11. And Coach Smart was dismissed on April 27 due to the change in ownership. 17-year NBA veteran and former ABC and ESPN commentator Mark Jackson replaced him as head coach on June 6. On December 19, they traded Amundsen to the Indiana Pacers for small forward Brandon Rush. 2011 present, Splash Brothers era. The Warriors did not improve in the 2011-12 NBA season under Coach Jackson, finishing the lockout-shorted season with a 23-43 record, 13th in the conference. The team suffered several injuries to key players, and due to the lockout, Jackson could not establish his system in training camp. They then entered into another chaotic rebuilding phase. Team leader Monta Ellis was traded in mid-March 2012, along with Kwame Brown and Ekpe Udoh, to the Milwaukee Bucks for center Andrew Bogut and former Warrior small forward Stephen Jackson, who, without playing a game for the Warriors, was quickly traded to the San Antonio Spurs for Richard Jefferson and a conditional first-round pick on March 15. These moves saw the rise of Stephen Curry and David Lee to team co-captains, and saw off-guard Klay Thompson, the 11th overall pick of the 2011 NBA draft, move into a starting role. On July 11, they acquired point guard Jarrett Jack from the New Orleans Hornets in a three-team trade, also including the Philadelphia 76ers, who received Dorell Wright from Golden State. On August 1, they signed forward Carl Landry on the termination of his one-year contract with the Hornets. In the 2012 NBA draft, they selected small forward Harrison Barnes with the 7th overall pick, center Festus Ezeli with the 30th pick, small forward Draymond Green 35th overall, and 7'1" center Ognian Kuzmic 52nd overall. In early November, swingman Rush was lost for the year with a torn ACL after falling awkwardly on the court early in the second game of the season. And less than a month later, the team announced that Bogut was out indefinitely with a foot injury that was more serious than originally reported. Bogut did not return to regular play until late in the season. Coming out of this maelstrom of trades and injuries with a team starting two rookies, the Warriors had one of their best starts in decades, earning their 20th win before hitting the 30-game mark for the first time since 1992. The Warriors also achieved a milestone by completing their first ever 6-1 road trip in franchise history, including a 97-95 win over the defending champion Heat in Miami on April 9, 2013. With a win over the Minnesota Timberwolves, the Warriors clinched the playoffs for the second time in 19 years, and the first time since the 2006-07 We Believe Warriors. This time, the local battle cry was We Belong. The team finished the season with a record of 47-35, earning the 6th seed in the Western Conference, and defeated the Denver Nuggets in the first round of the playoffs by winning 4 out of 6 games. They lost in the second round to the San Antonio Spurs, 4-2. This was the first playoff experience for all of the starters of this group except for Andrew Bogut. Other highlights of the season included Stephen Curry's 272 three-point baskets to set an NBA single-season record, giving him the nickname Babyfaced Assassin, and the naming of forward David Lee to the 2013 NBA All-Star Game as a reserve, ending the team's 16-year drought without an All-Star selection, dating back to Latrell Sprewell in the 1997 season. Curry and Klay Thompson, dubbed the Splash Brothers by team employee Brian Witt for their backcourt shooting prowess, combined for 483 three-pointers during the season, easily besting the prior record of 435 set by the Orlando Magic's Nick Anderson and Dennis Scott in 1995-96. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe below. Please like and subscribe below.